Welcome, people of all passion. My name is Jackson Hume of the Ninth Lane, where passion is truly power. And I'd like to welcome you to this week's episode of The Art of Passion. With the CFL draft coming up, I'm really excited to have this man come on to the show, given that he is a beast both on and off the field and a very big leader and brother of mine. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome my man, Luther Hakunavanhu. How you doing, bro?
Oh, I'm doing good. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, fam. Just chilling, another day to get better. So I got about 10 questions.
Yeah.
Looking to hear some good answers from you.
All right.
And you know how it is.
I see what I can do. I see what I can do. Yeah.
All right. So for starters, I'd like to refer to someone's core motivations as the thing that gets them out of bed in the morning. What would you say is that specific goal or motivation that inspires you to strive to be better day in and day out?
Good question. For me, I'd say family is a big thing for me. Just the way I've been raised and kind of how they've supported me through everything I've done. That's definitely a big thing that gets me going. And again, being from a place like Edmonton and then coming all the way to Toronto, you make those moves to kind of better yourself in the future and your family. So it's definitely one of my most important aspects. And then the other one too is just drive of what I want in my life and what I want to be. Once I've made up my mind in that sense that I wanted to play pro, that's just one thing that I don't waver on, and I kind of hold myself accountable for that. So those days that I don't want to lift and those days that I don't want to get up at 6 or whatever it may be that we have that I don't like, it's those things that kind of keep me going. And not only that, it's just that aspect of having little siblings to me that look up to me. And again, it's not just my siblings too sometimes that look up to me. So I gotta set an example for my siblings and anybody else watching me in that sense. So
I agree. I agree with totally what you're saying. And that's the thing that I've been saying recently is that passion truly is power. And when you have such a big passion and drive that comes even from yourself, although family is labeled as one of your biggest motivators, you already set with that
yeah,
passion and drive within you. So that will
yeah,
override any challenge that's already coming to your mind that you're struggling with. And for family, yeah, family's always been a big thing for a lot of these guys too, because it's just when you have someone that's counting on you and when you want to
yeah,
be looked to as an inspiration, it just
yeah.
you put on a different set of goggles. You have a different set of tunnel vision that cannot be compared to
Mm-hmm.
with when you have nothing to work for. So I totally agree with what you're
Yeah.
saying. Real talk. After spending 3 years with the Wildcats and CJFL, you went with the Lions in 2017. So with that move from Toronto, what was the transition like adjusting to a new city program and a brand of football? Because you and I, as Alberta boys, you know that the football
Yeah,
is different in
yeah.
Ontario. Like it's a
It's
different whole.
completely, yeah, yeah. It's definitely different. Well, I mean, just I'll start with life in itself. I mean, I'm pretty independent in that uh I don't really do much. I'm always home or like whenever I'm not home, like I'm kind of just doing my own thing. Um, so leaving home to me, it was a struggle. I wouldn't say it wasn't a struggle at first, just kind of I knew why I was leaving and I kind of had my mindset on playing. But like when it gets difficult is those times where it's like you have long holidays or like 4-day weekends and you can't go home. Everybody else is at home and you can't go home, and that's when it really hits because it's like, damn, I wish I could have my mom's cooking right now, or like because it's like you feel alone. I mean, don't get me wrong, like having a team and everything is all it's different. And but that aspect of not being with your own family sometimes just it definitely hit different in that aspect. And in terms of life too, just it also helped, I guess, in the sense that we have such a busy schedule and there's so much stuff we have to do that like you kind of bypass all those emotions that you kind of feel when you have time to think. So it's like that was another thing. So when you have that time to think on those weekends, it really hits you. But in terms of football, yeah, no, it's definitely a different speed. Like I mean, coming from Wildcats, um, you think you're good, or like you have this notion that you're good because you got recruited, or you were at the top of your team, and then you get to a place where it's like everybody is either they work hard, they're better than you, or they're just as fast as you. So like now you actually have to put in work to separate yourself, or now you actually have to try harder, or put more effort to things that you found easier in junior. So that's definitely a big adjustment. Very humbling in, I mean, all aspects. You kind of just have to look at it from that kind of perspective. So I would say those two are the major big. I mean, also playbook. Playbook is that was crazy. So like I came from like a huddle offense. Everything was simple. Like you have what was it? Plays where it's like pogo. They're telling you it's supposed to go, and then you come here, it's like plays you don't even know. You getting signals from the sidelines, asking questions, and it's just like playbook is this thick from like 3-4 pages to like a whole book, and you got to know everybody's spot. Man, I'll tell you, that first little bit was definitely a struggle.
Honestly, bro, it's that little fish or it's that big fish in a little pond. And once you go over to
Yeah.
that, that metro hub like Toronto, and you're playing in a
Mm.
new league, like it really forces you to change your mind. I mean, even for me
Yeah.
coming out of high school, like that transition, moving to a brand new city, brand new team, brand new culture, it was hard. And
Yeah.
like I feel like it's hard for a lot of people, no matter what age you're at. But I'm thankful that we have something like sports and such a busy schedule to just keep you laser focused on all that stuff. Because
Yeah, for sure.
like you're saying, those long holidays when it's just you, like with that time to
Yeah,
think.
man. They those Thanksgiving, everybody posted about Thanksgiving pie, and you're like, I can't really be spending $700 to be at home for freaking 4 days.
For
You kind of just have to hug it out until school's done. Essentially, you kind
yeah,
of go,
but
man.
it
It'd be
also
tough sometimes.
one thing that's good about that though is that it makes you grow so much, like so quickly, because in
Oh
that
yeah,
first
for
year it's
sure,
like
for
you
sure.
have to learn how to adjust, you have to learn how to
Yep,
grow up.
yep.
And
Like I mean, like you just in so many ways, like you hit it right on the mark there. Like you have to learn how to cope with your emotions. You have to learn how to kind of what's important right now, what do I have to do, and again with the busy schedule it kind of helps in that sense. So it's like you're forced not to kind of focus on those things. I mean, you may look at it, some people may look at it as a negative, but I mean, when I look at it in the long run, like it's just helped me out. I mean, my first year, like I was calling my parents a lot. Like anytime I was bored, essentially, I was just like, yo, we call my mom, see what she's doing. To the point where she's like, yo, why are you calling me? You ain't got stuff to do, So it's like
yeah,
that, and then you see the transition to like second year where it's like now I'm a little more comfortable. I'm calling because like I actually want to talk to like it's not just because I'm bored. Nah, let me call my mom, see what she's doing. But like there's a lot more meaning to it in that sense. So it's like you
yeah,
do see a lot of growth in that aspect.
for real growth comes in times of discomfort, and
Yes,
I'm a
sir.
strong believer in that. So as a family man, how did the separation from your influential factors affect you for better or for worse? Like, you were talking about, struggling. So for me, like I was super homesick first year, but like at the same time, once you get to that growth, you got to find the strength that you're going to use that as like your motivator to,
Your motivation, yeah, exactly,
exactly.
yeah. I mean, like I said, the first little bit was a struggle, but I think once you look at it in a certain different lens, because I remember I called my mom and she's like, like you're there for a reason. And it's just like reassured in that essence that like, she's right. Like I am here for a reason and kind of have to, get that job done. And it's all worth it it will be all worth it at the end of the day, because it's not like I went somewhere to spend time away from my family just to be there, like I went there with a goal in mind. They understand that, I understand that. So like there's no negativity in that sense. So you kind of just use that to push yourself in that sense of like in times where destructions or sorry distractions come, it's like you use that to be like, yo, like I'm here for a reason, so I gotta focus up. I can't be, I didn't fly all this way over here to kind of just throw stuff away and not show up to things, and it helps you kind of hold yourself accountable in that sense. So
Yeah.
that's definitely huge thing when it comes to, leaving home for me, definitely. In terms of just holding myself accountable and putting in, extra work in that sense, or whatever I had to do in that sense. So
I hear you totally. Full. It's like, when you're in that city, all that work you're doing is for the people back home. And I took that so much to heart when I first got out in Toronto. It's just like, this is all for everyone back home, not just for me, but for everyone back home. Like, you're working, you're trying to,
yeah,
like, you don't have to, but you just have this, sense of like putting it
of
on
like,
your back,
yeah,
like just like,
yeah,
nah.
exactly. You like, again, like I said, you don't have to, but it's like it's just like you want to go do something distracting. It's just like, but like I didn't, I'm here for a reason. I didn't come here to do all that. So it's like, and I found that, like, even myself, within the first, couple years, I'll say 2 years, that was a lot of my mind state in certain things, where it's like I remember, like, coming, you would think, coming from Edmonton and then coming to Toronto, you'd be like, the first year you'd be doing everything, because it's like, you ain't never been to somewhere like that big, or like, there's so many things going on in Toronto. You're just like, oh, let me go see that, let me go see this. So it's like, I actually didn't, like, even the summer would roll up, I didn't do nothing. People were like, I go home, people like, yo, how's Toronto? Like, what'd you do? I was excited. I'm like, honestly, I really don't do anything. Like, like, I practice, train, like, I stay in my house. Like, like, what? You don't, like, you don't. I'm like, no, not really. Cause, like, I mean, like I said, like, you get that pressure to be like, yo, like, I came here to kind of get the job done, but you kind of have to find a medium line in between that too. Sometimes kind of live life a little bit, but that was definitely how it was for me for a little bit.
Yeah, it's good to find that line, is what you're saying too, because you don't want
Yeah,
to be overworked and like
yeah, yeah,
have
yeah,
that
yeah.
only focus. And
Yeah, yeah, you definitely need to, relax sometimes, because, too much work can get to you.
yeah, 100%. You don't want to be overwhelmed, and that's the thing. Like, taking the time
Hmm.
to relax, taking the time to reset your mind is also good and healthy, I'd say. I'm a big believer in that.
Yep,
And that it helps you
yep.
stay refreshed and just ready to go again.
Keep
So you can,
saying that, it helps you. It definitely helps you keep saying.
yeah, 100%. And it's like, for me, it's like, when I'm struggling with something, I like to think about how far I've come, you know,
Hmm. Yeah,
like, for example, like, I just started drawing. So
yeah,
when I think about like how, when I get frustrated with like how something looks, I just think about, man, like last month or 2 months ago, like it, I would never dream to even be here already. So it
yeah.
reinforces the motivation that you started with,
Hmm.
I'd say.
Look at this guy, drawing. This guy's really a jack of all trades. Like that.
Just trying to be
Art,
a
yeah.
guy.
Oh, hey man, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I might have to, come get a portrait of myself done for you, but right,
Say less,
some
bro. Say
cartoon.
less. Might make it a
I
great
know, no, no, yeah.
So, how much do you attribute your skills to the time that you spent with the Wildcats and the CJFL, and really trusting yourself through that process?
I'd say my foundation, because then I definitely say my foundation was a lot from Wildcats. Just the aspect of, like, I didn't really play a lot of football in high school, considering, like, I mean, I started playing like grade 11, like halfway through grade 11, something like that. So, like, I was already, majority of me was already behind. I mean, thank God, like, I have God given abilities in a sense of just athleticism, but I definitely, don't get me wrong, I definitely have to work my butt off, but that helped me get to the Cats, and with that hard work as well, like, it definitely put the foundation of possibilities, and then just also just the base of just starting to love the game, or at a different viewpoint than just uh, somebody who watches the game. So that was, and even, like, I was a basketball player from the jump. So, like, converting me already was a big deal to get me to play football. So, like, that aspect of those 3 years I spent there, was a lot of it was learning, going through frustrations, and the culture they kind of had there, with me at least, was definitely um, molding me in that, kind of understanding how to go through frustrations, and, like, what I got to do, and giving me the possibilities that I can get out of. I can actually get out more from that sport than I originally thought of. So I definitely give my foundation to Wildcats for sure.
Hmm. So it's like that time was taken more to become like a true student of the game and like,
Yeah.
develop everything, get a sense. Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. Most definitely.
Because
So
I mean, like a lot of people usually get that in like high school, so like I had to get that in like junior ball, where I'm already behind with everybody. So it's like sometimes I get frustrated because I'm like I'm behind. I could just go play ball. Like what am I doing? But like you kind of have to stick through it. Look at things ask a lot of questions, look at things from different perspectives, and kind of just work through that. So I've definitely learned a lot of life lessons in that too as well. So
yeah, but that's cool though, because like you and I, our paths are completely different because I've been playing football
yeah.
since I was six, since '08.
Mm-hmm.
But given the fact that you started so early, like it's even more admirable about how much work you've had to put in during this time and actually leaving it up to trusting the process and giving yourself the time to develop and to really focus in on what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Because like from the way I view my playing style, at least, is that I've been playing football essentially my entire life. So like when I get to university, late high school, and have to work on other skills such as route running, catching,
Yeah.
sometimes I feel a little behind. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
you're there, you're working, but your devotion there is just already inherent, given the fact that you feel that
Yeah.
you're behind.
Yeah. So like yeah, I mean for me like majority of my I would say athletic career in all sports, I've always been I guess the underdog in a sense where like skill aspects, especially in ball, my body type of time was like I was lanky and small. So like I wasn't in a position where I was skilled enough. I had to work for a lot of stuff. And even just the size aspect, I was undersized. So I had to hustle a lot more. So like that mentality for me definitely helped in the football aspect because it's like I've always felt like I was an underdog. I mean, there are times where it's like you play the sport and you're like, I could definitely be better, or I don't want to compare myself to people, but like there are times, especially being late in the game, there are times where I'd find myself kind of comparing like, man, if only I had started earlier, if only. But like you have to kind of get out of that mindset and like, well, this is how my path is, so I gotta work. I gotta work to catch up to that, because then that was also one of the talks I had with KP when I came, where it's like where I want to go, I'm gonna have to work for that because I'm already behind. So like for me to catch up, like I have to put in work.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
I like it. Simple goals are good goals because they're easy to follow, but they require all that effort to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So football is a dog eat dog world. You and I both know that. So from adjusting from basketball, did you face any difficulties adjusting to the tempo and physicality of the game?
Yes. So I mean, the thing with basketball is for me because I play for so long, there comes a certain confidence to it. Just because you know where you are, where you are at a skill set, you know what you can do, you know what your weaknesses are. So like that aspect of it, it's like I have the confidence, I have the mentality to be like, somebody comes and says, "Yo, you're not this." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Let's go to the court right now, play me 1-on-1, and you can find out who I am. I'm a problem." Whereas like football, again, because I was learning everything once so quickly, and like um that mindset I was in at the time to be like I'm behind, and it was I didn't have the same confidence at the time. Like I still had that same edge to be like, I'm gonna work my butt off. I'm gonna, like, but the thing is, I'm a person who, when I stop thinking about things, like when I get comfortable at a point where I'm not thinking about things no more, like that's when I truly shine. Because, you know, my body takes over that stuff. So like when I'm start thinking and doubting myself and asking questions, it's like I'm a little hesitant and like, I start questioning myself, like, how'd you allow to, get beat or like get hands on you, like, you could do better. People are watching, like, and that's stuff that a lot of people don't talk about too. Especially us football guys, there's that premonition that we don't, or the top people that you look at is a premonition that, everything just, it's easy, or like, um, you're, you just find ways to not have, you don't have problems, I guess, in that sense. But like, it's a lot in that sense where for me, it was confidence. That's a lot I was lacking in, and it plays a huge part in playing that sport. a huge part in playing that sport. To be able to stand there in front of somebody and be like, yo, I'm gonna eat your food every day. Like, you can't touch me. And it's like, it's something that you learn as you play the sport. But some people don't, some people just have that. Like, some people just, and you have to either find that, or sometimes you just get washed away. And that's definitely something that for me came with a lot of training and a lot of, working, that I have that back wall to kind of support me, to be like, yo, I put a lot of work in this. There's no way you're beating me. And
Yeah.
that's kind of the mindset that I carry with when it comes to that kind of toughness in football too. Like, now it's like, don't talk to me. Meet me at the line. If that's what you want, you're gonna be over here saying, I don't want those problems anymore. Your coach, take me out, because that's where I'm at now. So it's like, I can see a lot of growth from my first year to now, because like first year I was just quiet, just watching everybody. Now it's like I'm willing to talk now. So it's like, that was a big part for me, for sure.
100%, bro. The way I describe football to people is this. I'm like, football is a sport where that you have to, for 2 hours straight, you have to endure someone twice as big as you come at your head at full speed and stand over you, screaming over you for 2 hours.
And be okay with it.
Yeah.
Yo, it's not honestly be okay with it, but like get angry with it to the point where it's like, yo, I'm not gonna let this happen again.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's such a mental game that a lot of people don't understand. Like, a lot of people just think we just run around there and hit each other, and like, oh my God, like, we just have so much anger and testosterone to be like, we're just gonna run around and hit people. But it's like, there's so much of it that plays a like a huge part of that game is just mental.
Football is
You talking to yourself, you talking to your team. Like, a lot of that is just mental. That's what a lot of people forget too.
it's really tactical, and it's like I like to view football as a chess game sometimes for a lot of it, because it's like
Yeah.
it's so based around the next move, and it's based around
Yeah.
cooperation of your whole team. And this
Yeah.
actually leads me into the next question, being like, being the ultimate team sport that it is, what's your experience, and are there any lessons that you learned through being in a sport which requires a level of trust with your teammates that you don't get in other team sports? Or are there any other sports to begin with?
So I mean, with football, it's definitely different. Like, I mean, again, so coming from playing basketball, I mean, I played a lot of sports growing up. So like, I was in track, soccer, basketball, softball, volleyball. I'm like, it's not. I'm not dissing any of those sports, of course. It's just, it's completely different, because you coming from having 12 people on a basketball team, or but technically it's only 5 people playing at the time. So like, the chemistry that you have with 5 people, those 5 people could just be your friends. So like, your chemistry could be out the roof. Football, you can't play with 5 people. You got to play with 12. Everybody has to do their job. And that's the thing that like you don't realize. And it also affects other people too. So it's like, if I don't do my job, something else happens. Or if I don't block for my, my other receiver, he might get hurt. Like,
Mhm.
there's so, and even then, like, if he drops a pass and I yell at him, now there's like that animosity between us. And it's like, and it changes everything. And just even just the way you carry yourself within like practice, lift, outside of football, like, just everybody, like, you're always constantly watching how your teammates carry themselves. And that's where kind of that trust comes from too. It's like, okay, if I see you're lifting, you're doing everything I'm doing, you're working, you push yourself hard, I see you're going to your classes, you're doing what you have to do, you're on top of everything. There's no reason for me, once we get to the field, to be like, I don't trust that person, because like, I see the effort that you're putting all around and everything else. So when it gets to the field, it's like, I got to do my job, so that, and I trust them to do their job, and it kind of just, it has to work out from there. And if it doesn't, it's fine. Let's move on to the next one. I have your back. And again, that's where that trust comes from. I'm not going to rip you apart. I have your back. I mean, there's times for tough love, but like, it's definitely a huge aspect for team sports. And again, that teaches you a lot in general when it comes to just life lessons too. Like, because when you get to a place where you're working for somebody or working for a team where it's like a lot of people, like you've already have that practice within football as well too. So
Yeah, football, like that teamwork just provides you with so many life skills, and not even just, being able to play on a team, but camaraderie, leadership,
yeah.
and all that. And the
Hmm.
saying, I like this saying, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, because I think it can be
Yeah.
applied. Yes, it can be applied in all sports, but I think it's emphasized so much in football because you have all
Yeah.
12 people. If 11 people are doing their job, if one person misses their block, that can,
It's
yeah, lead
definitely
to
done. Like I mean,
catastrophe.
like if you look at the NBA right now, perfect example, like Golden State. Curry's out there, you know, 60 points, whatever, and the team will still win. Like you can go out there and put up 100, 200 yards, and your team will still lose.
Yeah.
Like, cause like it's not just everybody has to do their job. Like you can go out there and be the best player you could ever be, and you still lose. And people will look at you like, yo, what's going on? And that's the thing too. They'll look at the whole entire team too. It's not just like an individual thing. You know what I mean? Where
Mhm.
it's like basketball, you can kind of take over in that sense to be like, okay, I'm hot. Let me just give me the ball. You know what I mean? Where it's
Yeah,
like everybody's got to do their job when it comes to football too. So
agreed. In a stock assessment recently posted by Marshall Ferguson on CFL.com, your draft stock was labeled as a mystery. How do you process the notion of remaining a mystery, and does it hold any value in how you go about your process?
Uh, so to me personally, I don't know. A lot of people saw that. A lot of people read that. And I mean, I got mixed reviews just from other people. I've seen people say like it's a good thing. I've heard people say it's a bad thing. But for me personally, I think like Jordan said, I took it personally. I don't know. I just from looking at all the work I put in myself and then who I am as a person in general. It kind of sucks to be like I'm a mystery in that sense. I feel like sometimes I kind of get overlooked in a sense. I don't know if that may be because a lot of people don't like York or where we play or kind of like how our season goes sometimes. Um, but there's a lot of hardworking kids, especially from that school, and like sometimes we just get overlooked. And to me, I think it just added more fuel to the fire to kind of be like, you're gonna know who I am. I'm not gonna be such a mystery anymore, and to like whatever team gets me, it's 110%, and I'm gonna make it known that you're gonna regret saying I'm a mystery, or you're gonna regret not picking me because I know what I'm bringing to the table in that sense. So it for me, it was definitely a motivation and more fire for me. I mean, a lot of people will look at that different. It's really a perspective kind of thing, but that's how I took it myself.
I'm good with that. Like, I think that's a good response that you had, though. I think in times like this, especially when it's coming down to the wire, that should be only used as fire. And
Yeah.
especially, if when I'm looking at even other podcasts like on social media, and I see like, a little bit of York slander, it's the same thing. The same reception is,
It,
there's no need to even retaliate. It's just for the
that's
fact.
where I'm sorry to cut you off. Man,
It's
go
all
ahead, go
good.
ahead.
But really, it's just put in the back of the vault, just in my, like, I'm gonna remember that, okay? Because that's just
Oh man,
making me stronger, and you're
it's
doing nothing but
it
adding
is
fuel to this fire we're
it's
burning, man.
crazy, bro. It is crazy because I remember I don't remember whose podcast it was. Somebody was like, I don't know about York, man. They ain't got nobody throwing the ball and they ain't got nobody catching the ball. I'm like, yo, that's crazy. Like I get when you look at, stats sometimes everybody kind of just like, oh my God, they're and whatever. But like there's a lot that goes into things like that. But like to go to the point of like just disregarding anybody that's over there is kind of ridiculous to me. Like I'd
Mhm.
rather you just say it as it is. They got people over there, but there's no like whatever it may be. But like to just disregard the whole entire team and be like, I don't know who over there. Like we don't put up a fight or like we just like it's crazy
Yeah,
to me.
I
But
feel
like I'm at a point and this is just for me, and I feel like anybody for our team, and essentially like don't even talk back at this point.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a year when nobody's played at all and nobody knows nothing. Nobody, like, it's a whole new season. People left, people came in, nobody knows anything. So like for me to just sit there and retaliate over the internet for somebody else's opinion is crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna take offense to that. Don't get me, your name's gonna be on the list, because when something goes good, I don't want you coming to me and be like, man, where did this kid come from? Yeah, nah, don't give me none of that.
Bro,
You
one
stay over
thing
there.
one thing that like I learned that I was forced to learn during this pandemic is patience. And
Yep.
patience really helps me in responses to stuff like that, where it's like when I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
see it, I'm gonna remember it, but it's gonna be like, okay, wait, just wait, because we're coming. Like this time
And
is
that's
coming. And it really,
it.
yeah, the
Nah,
only
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
oh yeah, the only thing that's coming in my head is just like, okay, the time is coming. Like we're working, you know, like time's still going on. There's nothing slowing down. We're in a whole new world post-pandemic, and people really have to understand
Crazy,
that.
bro.
And especially
Crazy.
even looking at, especially even when people would, slander our team for losing or something like that, by looking at the box score, it shows nothing but the end result. It doesn't it doesn't tell the story of the game whatsoever. And
Crazy.
that's football. It's like that's so many sports. Even in a
That's,
soccer
yeah,
game,
exactly. Yeah,
someone were to win 1-0. It doesn't tell the story of the game at all.
exactly. Yeah.
So,
But I mean, like, even like if you look at games where it's like, I mean, we fought for 3 quarters, but like people make it seem like we didn't play the game at all.
yeah,
Like it's crazy to me. It's just like, I get, like, I'd rather you sit there and be like, yo, they fought for 3 quarters, but they just didn't seem to get it in the fourth. But to sit there and just be like, man, I don't know what they're doing over there. It's
yeah,
like, because then the day's gonna come. Don't get me wrong. The day is gonna come where everybody's gonna be like, yo, how can we lose to York?
yeah.
I'm gonna sit there and just be like, oh, that's crazy, right?
Trust me, bro. They're
That's
gonna know.
crazy,
Trust
right?
me. It's real. Nah, 100%. And we all believe in it. And that's what I'm happy to see that everyone's believing in it too, because it's coming. Just let know.
And I think too. The other thing that's dangerous is because we get to a point where it's like we I ain't got nothing to lose. Like, I've had a lose, like I've played in a season where it's like we had a losing record.
Mhm.
So like I'm a play like I ain't got nothing to lose. You do though, because your reps on the line. Because at the end of the day, if you lose, like, everybody gonna be like, yeah, how you guys lose to York? Like, what the
Yeah,
heck? So it's like, all right, man, keep doing what you're doing. If you want to talk, you go ahead and talk. But the day's coming. The day's
honestly.
numbered. But
I think a lot of individuals underestimate the strength within them for being able to endure such a global turmoil for the past 2 years. As athletes, but for football players more specifically, both resilience and perseverance are essential prerequisites in order to survive in a hostile environment. So, did you face any difficulties finding motivation, and how were you able to find solutions to remain resilient in times of uncertainty?
I mean, like everybody, I feel like there was definitely a lot of difficulties in staying motivated. I'd say mine came when I went home, Christmas. Because then once I found out, again, we weren't having a season, and kind of, that was uh before school, I believe. I can't remember what the
Yeah.
exact date was, but anyway, to me, it was just a good way to get better. And for me, the way I looked at it was like it was a gift in disguise, because in a place where I was always saying like I'm behind and yada yada, this is now a time where you could actually separate yourself. This is not a time where people actually find out, like, is this really what I want to do? Because like, not playing for 2 years, that's a long time, especially coming out of like a winter that the off season that just crushes you, that you want to get to a point where it's like, summer, you work, and it's like you're getting that excitement to play again, but like that's not there no more. So to me, it was like, this is now my chance to actually evolve myself to get better. And so like, the problem is like when I went home, it's like a whole different atmosphere, because it's like now I'm home. I'm kind of in that mindset like, oh, I'm just chilling. And like I didn't really set a time frame on when I was like how long I was home for. I think it's about a one way ticket. I can't remember. So like, and because all my resources at the time too were like, if I want to go train, like they were far, you know, because Edmonton's so much spread out. Like if I wanted, you know, like I had track work to do. Like if I wanted to run, the closest track was U of A, and I'm all the way on the south side. It's like I'm. Don't get me wrong. Like I really want to go do it, and everybody has those moments. It's like I definitely want to go run over there, but like I have to, you know, drive for how long? I'm just used to walking the 5 minutes to, you know, get to the stadium, do my, you know, my run in, my track work or whatever, and leave. Now I got to drive a whole, you know, 30 minutes there, run by myself, which is one of the most difficult things you'll ever do in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, drive back. So it's like, I definitely got lackadaisy in there. And I was also telling myself, well, like, you got time, which is one misconception that a lot of people kind of take for granted, not take for granted, but like use a lot and don't realize like you don't really have time, to be honest, because half the time you say you have time and then damn, like you're gone. Kind of like procrastinating your assignments, you know? So it's like I have to, so the best thing for me was kind of to remove myself from that environment because like I had people I'd message like, yo, you know, do you want to go throw around today? And people would be like, yeah, and nobody shows up in like Edmonton. So it's like there's not a lot of people, I guess, out there that had the same motivation that I did in a sense. So it's like it was very difficult to kind of stay motivated in that sense, and kind of just, again, the environment of kind of my family being there, me wanting to do everything for my parents, and like having not seen them for so long, it's kind of like I want to spend so much time with them in that too. So it's like everything else can wait, and I kind of get to it when I get to it. And then once I got back, it was completely different. It was like, okay, you know, I called KP up. I'm like, all right, let's get to work. So like, what we got to do, you know, and next thing you know, like I'm training back again, you know, three times a week, lifting, I was at a point where like I was biking to his, you know, his house. I, you know, I'd be like a hour or like, I don't remember what it was, but like I'd bike to his house, have a training session, bike back, sleep, lift, and then, you know, go home. And I'm, you know, so like 2 days essentially, and then have another throw around with somebody, you know, be like, yo, let's go get a throw around. So like for me, it was definitely a blessing in disguise. And when those moments of me struggling to kind of stay motivated came, it was a lot of, this is your time to get better. This is where you separate yourself. You say you want that respect, that this is how you earn it, you know. Nobody's gonna know about this, but like when you play, people are gonna be like, that's not the same person that I played last year. Because it's, even when I look at the film, I'm like, I've come such a long way in a year, and I still have so much. Don't get me, I still have so much growth that that's there for me that I have to do. But it's like you look at that and it feels good because it's like you see all that hard work and where it's gotten you and where it's taking you. So it's like it works great.
I feel you, brother. It's true though that the way that you view
Kind of
that,
rambling over here, but
no, it's all good. The way that you view it, in that it's a year to actually get better, that is what sets people. That's what sets the winners apart. Is that you have this time, you're given this opportunity, and yes, it's unfortunate that you're not going to be able to, you know, actually like play another team. This is your free training period. You're essentially given a free training period to get better, and at the
yeah,
same time, you're also given a free training. You're also given a free period to, you know, decrease in skill, because
mm-hmm.
depending on how you view it, it can go either way, which it
Yeah,
really leaves it all up to the person, to the athlete. And, you know, in whichever passion you desire to take on, it's all up to how badly you want it.
yeah. And I mean that's the thing too. Like, and I think a lot of people kind of look at it wrong, where it's like, man, I kind of didn't do anything for football. Like, it's not for me, and they think like, you know, you're gonna get looked ill upon. Like, hey man, if it's not for you, to me, like that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not gonna sit here and freaking be like, oh man, I can't believe you know, he dropped out. Like, you know, like he was. That's not. It's not for you. Like, why am I gonna waste a lot of energy to kind of convince you to come do something that you don't want to do no more? You know, and that's where it was like I would a lot of the time. Like I think first, especially early in when the pandemic hit or in the summer, where it's like I'd ask a lot of people, I'm like, yo, let's go throw around, let's go do around. Because in my head, I'm like, okay, we all have the kind of same goal, especially early. I'm like, we all have the same goal to kind of get better. But then you start realizing how much time is in between. And there's also a possibility that you actually might not even play the next year. That's when people are like, why am I doing this now? You know, like if we find out I have a season, I have enough time to get better. But like to me, that's already too late because
Mhm.
like somebody else is potentially taking your spot. Somebody else is working. And again, for where I wanted to go, which is pretty much play pro and go in the NFL till this day, that's still a goal. It's like I have to work for this. It's not gonna come. It's not gonna come easy, and there's so much I still have to learn. There's so much I still have to implement into my game to be that person or to be polished. So it's like it was just that kind of lens looking at it, that to be like I have to work to get better to where I want to get. And like we talked about, just having that focus to be like, this is what I had set for myself. That definitely helped me through all that.
I feel it. Would you say that football has taught you life lessons that other sports couldn't?
Most definitely. And I think I touched up a little bit on this. So like when you look at just overall teammates, so one of the biggest things I'd say is communication. So like there's so many different personalities when it comes to a football team that like you can't just talk to everybody the same. That's where I guess some people have the disconnect where it's like they give somebody tough love in the sense of like they yell at him, but like they can cope with it. But then you go to somebody else who can't, but you're still yelling. It's like, that doesn't really work. That person now just feels animosity, like, why are you yelling at me? Like, who do you think you are? You know what I mean? So it's like definitely understanding people or like watching just how they carry themselves, who they are, and understanding people to be like, okay, I can communicate to him this way, or I can communicate to him that way. And then also just sometimes if it's like the other thing is emotions. So like sometimes we react to certain things just through emotions where you end up yelling to that person who doesn't, who doesn't really understand why, like, don't yell at me, talk to me, you know what I mean? So it's like you now have to explain stuff like, I wasn't yelling in that aspect. It's just I got heated. It's humbling in that aspect too. But like, I mean, I'm pretty sure it happened to us at one point where I was like,
Mhm.
I said something to you, and I'm like, I'm not saying it in a matter of like, you're not doing this. I'm just saying like, watch how you say it because other people can perceive it in different ways because again, everybody's different, right? Um, so it's like that, and then to me, it was also just emotions. So like, I'm somebody who ponders my emotions. Like I think about stuff a lot. So like the thing about football is everything happens so quick. You have zero time to process emotions. Absolutely no time to process emotions at all, bro. And there's so much pressure in just everything. Pressure you put on yourself, pressure from teammates, coaches, and like you have to learn to cope or to learn to move that aside or like something because like sometimes it just hits you. Because I remember like the Guelph game, early on, we're doing well. I dropped a wide open touchdown. I don't even know how I dropped. To this day, I don't know how I dropped that. It still haunts me, wide open. And so now I'm just, so I got furious at first at myself, like just furious, upset. Like, how the hell did you drop that? Two, it's like everybody who was counting on you and like all this pressure of like, I'm that kind of number one receiver, go-to guy. I'm also a leader on the team. Like, I can't be doing this, so there's that. And it's like coaches also, what is going on? How'd you drop that? Like you don't drop open passes in practice. Like what is this? I've got the headset on, people are yelling at me. It's like there is so much going on and it's all implicated on you. And it's like I was heated to a point like I almost cried, but like it was more like frustration. And like I sat on the bench and I was quiet and like nobody came close to me. Like I mean, you could probably see it just from my demeanor and everything. Like I was just pissed off. And it's like I have to start talking to myself like, let it go, because like, or like, you know, think in a positive mind state where it's like use that anger to like make the next play. You know, use that, go get the next, you know, next catch, go get a touchdown. Like do something that be like, yeah, he dropped the pass, but like he also, you know, got a touchdown. And that game, I also had numerous drops in that game, but like it was also a game where it was a very good game. If it wasn't for the drops and the
Yeah, you
touchdowns,
went
like
off.
it was a very good game. But like the mental fight that I had in that game was probably one of the most difficult things I've ever encountered from an emotional standpoint for like football and life in a long time. So it was like just coping and kind of understanding and like being in the moment of all that was definitely a huge teaching moment for me in that aspect. So
You see, and that's the thing, because I find that so interesting because when I think of that game, I just remember you just going off. Like, you know, what you have, do you have 3 touchdowns that game? You had 2 or 3 touchdowns that game? Like,
I think it was two. I should have had four. That's the crazy part. So like I had the one I dropped, and then there was the one I tried to hurdle, and I like my ankle buckled. Oh my god, I look so unathletic. Ankle buckled, and then freaking. But the crazy part is like Daly was on my left side. I actually just ran around him. It would have been another touchdown. It would have been like 4 touchdowns, and then aside all those drops, it would have been like 200 some yards, like crazy,
yeah,
absolutely crazy. But like that mental side of it, it was like having another drop, and then you sit there like, damn man, why do I keep doing it? Like, what's wrong with me? How am I keep it was wide open? Like, how am I dropping this? But then you have to line up again and run the next route. And honestly, like a lot of it, I also gotta give credit to like coaches and like just my teammates for not giving up on me in that sense. You know, like I still get the ball after I just dropped, you know, a touchdown or like another pass. Like they'll still throw me the ball. He still call calls for me. Cause like I looked at that tape. I remember I looked at that tape after the game. That whole day after the game, I was pissed. I didn't talk to nobody. I didn't want to see nobody. Like, and it's like I just had to process all that. And like as soon as the film up went up, like that's the first game I was watching. All those drops, the drop touchdowns, and like just seeing people's demeanor to me was another thing too. Like I remember when I dropped it, I turned around, people are like, you know, hands in their heads, like looking up, like how do you drop that? And it's like all that hits you at the same time. Like you have zero time to sit there and process because the next call's coming in.
yeah,
So you just have to be like, yo, okay, let it go.
reset.
Let's go work. Reset, next play. And like it's tough because it's not like next play where it's just like, you know, you just you were short from the first down, or for you know you are yard short from first down, and it's still first down. It's like, you know, next play, whatever. It's like that was, you know, we had to kick the ball after that, but
Yeah.
it should have been a touchdown. And then if you end up losing that game too, it's like, man, what am I really doing out here? So it's like it was a lot, definitely in that sense.
Yeah. But for me, it really just shows how much of a leader you are in the fact that, you know, I couldn't see that you were going through all that on the field, but, you know, all you really were just representing or conveying to the rest of us was just, you know, resetting, because that's such a skill that you need to have in football,
Yeah.
especially with plays like that. Like you
Mm-hmm.
just got to, you know, next play. Okay. Fumble, next play. You got to
Yeah.
just keep going because there's, like you said, there's no time for you to process what's going on.
Yeah. And I think like when we said like football is such a mental game, it's also one of those things like you don't want to show the things that affect you. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a big thing, especially when it comes to who you're playing. Like if I'm playing somebody and I know I say something and it upsets you, I'm not gonna stop because now I'm in your head. You know, like there's and either you're gonna get so mad to the point you're gonna make mistakes, or you're just gonna get mad to the point where you just, you know, like you can't do your job right no more. So like you don't want to show that aspect of people. You don't want to show that to people because in sports a lot of times like it's gonna get used to your disadvantage. So like
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely something I credit to basketball for sure. Especially having like games where you don't play well at all. So like shout out to basketball for that for sure.
from your perspective, do you have any advice on how to face adversity and overcome mental blockage through focusing on your passions?
Me is that's a good question. The advice I would have is definitely when it comes to motivation and kind of adversity in that sense is find your why you do things. Because like if it's not important to you in that sense, I mean, it may be a little cliche that I'm saying this, or like people have heard it, but honestly, if it's not important to you, it's not going to matter that much, and it's not going to help you in those certain situations because you're just going to think of something else that you think is more important than that. You know what I mean? Or
Mhm.
like you get to a lift and it's tough. You're just gonna be like, it's not really. Why am I doing all this? Like I could do the bare minimum and still be fine. Nobody's watching me. So it's like, definitely find what drives you. And if it's and whatever you're doing, if it's for you to just give it your all, because I'm a firm believer in one of those things to like um kind of enjoying the process and being in it, but also giving everything I have. So I don't want to be like, so if things don't go well in my perspective, like I've done everything I can say like I'm okay that it didn't work out. I've done everything I can. You know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
that's something that me personally, I don't think I'd be able to live with if I kind of just did just the bare minimum and then opportunity was given to me and I didn't succeed because of that. Because then it's like I should have done that. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I don't want. That's not what I want for myself. So like, find why you're doing things. Find your why, and just put your head down and work. But enjoy the process too, though. That's a big thing. Like, yeah, you're gonna have days that are frustrating. You're gonna have days that you don't like, but like that stuff changes you in so many ways. Um, Not just as a player, but like in your own development, mentally, physically, and just in all aspects, not just football, like life, relationships, mind states, processing it, everything you do, like not you pushing through all that stuff is just to make a better version of you, and
Agree.
that's what a lot of us just want. So like, definitely put your heart in things and kind of just you know delve deep in everything in the whole process and enjoy everything, even the stuff that you don't like really look at the whole picture as a whole.
Yeah. I like that a lot, finding your why, because it really goes down to as simple as that. As in, once you find what you know and what you're really passionate is just okay, that's
Yeah.
your why. Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I think a lot of people are underestimating the power that comes with finding that why, because
Yeah.
like you said from the very first question, it's what gets you, a lot of it can also be what gets you out of bed in the morning. It can be just
Yeah.
also just the act of you wanting to better yourself as a person. It could also be your why.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it gives you so much intrinsic power that, it should really be spoken about more, I think, is that, you know, that you people have so much power within themselves to make a
Hmm.
change, and that
Yeah.
practice just in that repetition and that motivation uh really only leaves the sky is the limit once you actually unlock it.
Just make sure like not everybody's path looks the same. I think that's another thing that kind of discourages a lot of people in a sense, where it's like um
True.
that person's path is a lot easier or it looks different. So I'm a more my path in that sense. But like everybody's flows through life in general are completely different. Like you might have aspects that are kind of the same, but like really don't take other people's perspectives at a like a grain of salt, because like at
Yeah,
the end of the day, like your path is completely different from everybody else's. But I love
exactly.
laughing. That's it.
Exactly. And I really like what you're saying, man. That's everyone has their own path. It's your own experience. And yeah, you can get advice, but ultimately the decision is yours.
Yeah.
So, what you want to do with that? All right, man. Well, thank you for coming on to the show. Had some amazing answers. I'm happy to see you again, brother. Good
That's
luck.
some crazy questions, bro. This
Thank you, bro.
guy.
Thank you, fam.
That
Just trying to provoke
hey
some minds,
man,
trying to inspire some people
I
out here.
hear that. I'm here for all that. I'm here for all that.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. All right. Good luck with the draft, my guy. And I will see you
Thank
soon.
you very much.
All right.
See you.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Take care.